Hi, everyone. If you don't know how to pronounce my name, that's okay. All of the translating systems that I've used so far that use AI don't know either. We're not going to have sound, but I'm pretty sure you will understand what I'm saying. Yeah, so no one really knows how to do it, but the last one is the correct one. There you go. So it's okay if you say it differently too. As Mushon said, I am from a country that everyone says that has a lot of potential. But at the end of the day, it's like, they tried their best, you know? They were there. And right now, 3 years ago, almost, I moved to Barcelona to do my master's in data and design. And now I live in a place where they do this to people, which I still don't understand why. But I love it. I have actually been working with data for the last 10 years. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction because it's my first time after the pandemic talking on a stage with people watching, especially in a different language in a different country, just to give you a little bit of my background. So I graduated in 2011. I come from business and innovation. And I actually started developing systems and methods back then to monitor complex data, unstructured data online. So I had to actually map and collect data on social media for brands that had really, really simple names, things that we use every day. And I quickly realized that instead of looking at brands, we had to look at behavior. So I started working as a data analyst and a data expert. And I got pretty good at that. And we did some pretty cool stuff. So some infographics that in 2012, I think, were pretty cool. But now I look at it and I'm like, wow, so many colors, why? But it's okay, it was a process. And after working there for 2 years and already doing like a small team with it, someone came to me and asked, well, would you start a company with me or help me start the company and put that method to practice? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we did the first ever data experience center that was in Brazil. It was a place for us to discuss and talk about data in a different perspective. Not just look at data in reports, but actually have a space to exchange about it. So we did some pretty cool stuff there. I worked there almost 3 years, I would say. I even got to have the same method applied in a different region in Brazil and eventually in the US. And so it was a huge success for the time that it happened. And we used these frameworks to help people make sense of data and use data on their day-to-day lives. So they just didn't go home with a report. We also did some other cool analysis on Star Wars and some infographics that were very interesting. You can see that now I have way less colors. This is colorful, but you know, it's way more interesting to look at than a few years later. And then after a while, someone was like, okay, but now would you like to replicate that method for my company's department? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do this. Let's understand what kind of data you need, how you need to visualize it, and what are the processes in place so you can do it. So I did it. This was the first one that I did. It's called Control Room or Conversation Room, and it actually went live. It was a super cool project for a big telecommunications company in Brazil that was implemented for their social media department. Huge department, and actually this was one of the things that helped decide if Big Brother would stay in Brazil or not. So you're welcome. I don't know. It's still running. We'll see. And it was an interesting process that I got into, and after that one happened and it became a reality, people realized that they needed a lot of it. So I did a lot of these, like a lot. I don't even know how many. I think around 50, I would say, from all kinds of departments. And then eventually someone like, okay, but you're doing this to specific departments. Would you like to do this for an entire company? Would you like to build this inside the company, help them understand how to do their processes, train their data science team, build their data science team, and build a space for people to exchange on data and not just look at data on reports at their desks? And I was like, I'm already here, let's do this. So I actually did that. We planned an entire room, we planned an entire space, and we did it. We helped everyone in an entire company. It was a big retail company in Brazil apply it. And actually, from all of the challenges that we mapped in the beginning, so this was 2017 and 2018, roughly 40% of them became routine. So we were able to transform them from challenges to actual processes that would look into data from various departments, from legal to marketing to logistics. And it was a transforming, I think it's one of my biggest projects, the second one I would say, but it was a transforming process anyway. But all of that was like, okay, now that you've done all of this, would you like to teach people? And I also did. So you don't know that because I spoke mostly in Portuguese and mostly in Brazil. But I taught a lot of people how to use that method and how to develop it. And eventually, what stuck with me was that I am a person that helps create methods in data. And I'm a person that helps other companies, other departments, and other places understand how they can run their own departments, how they can run their own companies. But most specifically, how they can develop data projects and data products. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to talk to you what is a data product, quickly and very fast, if possible. So a data product is like any other product or service. We can call it a service. We're not going to get into that design discussion. We're not here for it. But it's made out of data. And without data, it wouldn't exist. So there are different types of it, and I'm going to explain it. But first, I'm going to use an analogy to tell you about it. So first, we start with the challenge. And let's say here that you all have, whoops, it's not going. There you go. You have a 5-year-old sister, and it's her birthday, and you're tasked with baking the dessert for her birthday party celebration. And that kid is actually very passionate about unicorns. So you know your user a little bit. And I'm sorry, it's not working. Just a sec. I'm going to have to move, I think. And then, excuse me. Very weird situation. Okay, and then what happens is you have some data that you're working with, some ingredients. And these ingredients are what define what you can and you cannot do with what you have. With these ingredients, you could make an omelet. With these ingredients, you can make pancakes, and you can make or bake a cake. So you decide based on your user that you're going to bake a cake with it. And that is your data. Your data also defines in what you're building, or what we call a recipe, also defines, that's okay, don't worry. Thank you, you're so nice. Are you going to edit that out on YouTube? It's going to be weird. Say hello for everyone on YouTube.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. So basically, it helps you define what you can and you can't build, and that's your recipe. And your recipe can be very complex, or it can be very simple. It can have really high skills for you to do it, or really simple skills that anyone can do at home, or anyone with no training could do. And that's the same with data products. You can have a really simple database, something that you just put data together. You can actually build it into an index, or you can do a very complex data viz, or even more complex, an algorithm. So depending on how complex it gets, the more knowledge you're going to need to have, the more knowledgeable you need to have to be able to do it. And if you skip any of these steps, the possibility that you're building one that's on top, that's good, it's very low actually. And next, okay, we've decided that we're baking a cake, so that's a type of analytical solution or our recipe. You decide on the shape that you're going to give to it. So you can bake all kinds of shapes of cakes. You can bake a shape of a cake of, things that are not safe for work if you want to. You can bake it around, you can bake it in layers, but it all depends on your user. So again, we talked that your user really like unicorns, for example, and like Scream. So we're going to do a cake that's like round, and it's filled with brigadeiro. You don't know what brigadeiro is, sorry, it's a Brazilian thing. And you're gonna shape it into the form of a unicorn if you can. So that's the shape of your food. And it's the same with formats. So you can have all kinds of formats when you're talking about analytical solutions. You can do an infographic, as we just saw here. You can do slides with data. You can do a picture with data. You can do a dashboard. And you can put an algorithm in a dashboard, you can put a data viz in a dashboard, you can put a database in a dashboard. So a dashboard is not a data product. A dashboard is a format. So when a client asks you for a dashboard, they're not asking for a data product, they're asking for a specific format. And what you have to ask yourself is this the best format that I can offer for this specific situation? So the next thing you need to do is you need to put that out there. You need to put it in the world, and you need to deliver it to other people, because just setting up a dashboard doesn't mean that they're going to find it, especially when you're working in a big company that has lots of them, reports, slides, whatever. Where are people going to find that? And that's your media, or as we call it, a display. And the same goes for a cake. You can put a cake in the middle of the table, or you can leave it in the kitchen. You can put a cake on a very beautiful, crafted plate, or you can put it in a very simple. And it really depends on who you're tending to or who is going to consume that. So a data product is a combination of your ingredients, your recipe, the shape of your food, and where you're going to display it. And it's not only dependable on your user, it's also dependable on the community. Because if the kid that I am helping with, or my sister, or whoever it is bringing lots of kids, I have to factor that in when I am also designing it. So in a very simple way, a product is a combination of a lot of different things. And there's a big problem today in industries and in companies, because for you to build a data product, contrary to for you to build a cake, you actually need a lot of people. It's not only you usually that's doing that. You have other people at the table. And if you don't invite your user in, as we were just seeing and talking to other people, maybe you're not doing the best that you can for them. So for you to make a data product, or to design a data product that's going to actually be eaten to bits, you should consider different steps. And then I'm going to go back to my story here, because I was at the right moment, with the right time, with the right knowledge. And finally, I was handed the opportunity of getting my own studio. So I started the research project that was starting data science in Brazil, Africa, and India through a program called Grand Challenges with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, invited me to that table. And once they understood that, okay, you have all of this knowledge on how to build teams, on how to build products, and on how to build culture around it, would you like to take that and maybe teach researchers how they can deliver their products better to policymakers? And I was like, sure, let's do it. So this is where ODD comes from. And if you don't know us, maybe you know some of our products that are out there. As, for example, VizHeads is one of the explorations that we did to visualize who is heading the VizHead community, if you know what I mean. And this is 2021. 2022 is coming up next week, but right now it kind of looks like this. We're gonna get there, I swear. It's like, it's a building process. But we've done some pretty cool stuff in data science and in data science for health, specifically in the last 4 years. We've also done other things, but that was a lot of our work. We really wanted to get that started in Brazil and in South-to-South collaborations that were so important for us as Brazilian, because we're really proud of our healthcare system and we really want to see our country thrive. So I want to talk to you and I want to tell you, how does that apply to a specific product? And then let's see how we're doing. Cool, we're great. So this challenge came to us. This is a foundation that wanted to design a tool to explore 200 health indicators and support decision-making for municipal policymakers. So first of all, when someone comes to you and they tell you, I want to explore and make decisions, it's a red flag. Those things are really not necessarily possible in the same visualization, in the same tool, and even in the same process. So there are mainly 4 ways in which you can apply a purpose to a data product. You can use it to inspire people. You can use it to explain something so they can understand it. You can use it to help them explore something, or you can use them to get informed about something, to make a decision. But the truth is, the higher it is, the lower the data literacy needed for them to use it. If I'm watching something just to be inspired by it, I don't really need to be data literate in that specific subject. I can be inspired by anything. So when we watch a video online about children that are suffering in specific places and has lots of data in it, you have data in it. You have a specific type of analytical solution, which is the indexes that they are using. You have a specific type of format, which is video, and they are showing it to you in a media, which is social media. You're receiving all of that information, but it doesn't mean that you know what that children are going to. It doesn't mean you're a doctor, you're an epidemiologist, or anything like that. You're just accessing information. But if you have to explore information on your own, it means you need to have a little bit of knowledge to what you're doing. Because if you don't, it's just a bunch of numbers for you. And it's just some other tool that you're not going to be able to use. So when you explore something, it is definitely suitable for audiences that know the questions they wish to answer, but that lack the resources. But they have a little bit, they're not suitable for people that have little understanding of the topic, or they don't have enough time or knowledge to filter or compile data on that type of information. And where you're using something or you're defining something to decide, you're actually using it for audiences that already have a routine or repeated processes, but it's not really good for people that have questions that change frequently, because then they're not going to be able to use that decision-making system. And that comes from a lot of experience of a lot of dashboards that were not necessarily used. I know that firsthand. If we give too much freedom for people that don't know how to use it or don't have the processes to use it, they're not going to make decisions with it. They're just going to explore it. So one of the things that we do is we use this canvas, which is the framework that I just talked to you about, and we put all of our clients, when they come to us with these demands, on this 2-hour workshop, and we help them understand that they really need to be able to connect their users to the decisions that they are making, to the informations and outputs that will be consumed, and then finally understand what our threats are and how we can handle that. And once we do that, they understand how complex it is to deliver all of that into just one tool. And they can focus on letting you know what is exactly their expectations to what they are delivering. So it became a, more structured challenge, I would say, after that workshop, which is, first of all, they wanted to support municipal stakeholders to compare different health indexes from their location. They wanted to also understand the performance of that municipality. They also wanted to explain the importance of the data and be transparent about the process. They wanted it to be simple, direct, and easy to download the data, because they also wanted to help researchers or journalists. And they wanted one perfect health screenshot, which is, if I had to know in one screen the most important information, which information would that be? Okay, now we have something to work with. Now it's clearer and more specific. We had 10 years of data, 200 indicators, and almost 6,000 municipalities in Brazil. I'm not going to even say how many regions and all of that, all that complexity, right? So we came up with an analytical solution that would help them do that. So we decided on 4 to 5 data visualizations that would allow comparison of all of the indexes, but allow contextualization at the same time. We would do a dedicated download section for researchers and journalists, and also a documentation section that would support understanding and trust of the selected variables. So we started the process, as you all know, sketching. Testing also. So with real data, we started to test a lot of different visualizations. And we decided in parallel to work a little bit on how that wireframe would work, where things would be put and how they would be structured. So we had one team working on wireframe and another team working on data visualizations. And we would update and work with the client as we would go. So there were a few prototypes. And at the end, we decided for 4 specific visualizations that were compositions, but not just specific to their own. So we decided for one, how do you say in English? Chloroplastic math? You got it. A colored map. You got that. But it was also a ranking. And the first thing that we wanted was for it to be easy to query and filter what they wanted. So we built the system in a way that they would build it as a sentence. So I want to see this index for this place in this period. We also decided on a scatter plot or that would compare different variables, but we would hide all of the different municipalities that didn't make sense to show, and we would just highlight the ones that were the most important one for that specific place. We would also use a packing or a group packing visualization, but it would also show proportion, so it was easier to compare. And finally, we did a timeline, but the timeline showed the differences between always comparing the municipality with the health area, with the region, with Brazil. So you would always compare your municipality to the highest granularity that you could find, the lowest and the highest granularity that you could find. So it was very well received, and at the same time, you would have all of the information about the index on your left. You could download that to put in a presentation, or you could share it with other people and even report a problem that you were seeing. Secondly, we did a specific download page, which may not seem like something big, but actually download pages in websites are pretty terrible. You cannot really filter the specific data that you want or the year that you want, and we put a huge download button to download everything for someone that didn't want to go through selecting everything. So we try to make it as simple as possible. And we worked a lot on this perfect screenshot, as I call it. So they worked on, curating all of the data for that specific dashboard with the researchers. And what we did was we had the same system for everything, but this is all you need to know if you don't know anything about health indicators in your municipality to monitor it. And then finally, we put it all on a website. That was our format and how we chose to do it, one of the different solutions and formats that we came up with. And this was the final visual system. So you would have the same visual system for country, state, macro region, I was forgetting that one, health region, and municipality, and of course, 100,000. We had more than 1,000 tasks for visualizations, and we had more than, I think, 20 tasks for color at least, to understand that if we were covering everything that we could with the color system that we were developing. So each chapter would have a different color system, but it would all come together at the end. Yeah, so this is kind of the final result, is a really huge success in terms of giving transparency and giving a place for people to find curated and quality data from a very big organization in Brazil. And none of this was actually done in that way before. So we're really proud of the final result, and we're really happy with it. At the end of the day, what we want with our information is that we're either acknowledged of what we're doing, depending on the person that's accessing it. We're either engaged with, so we have people come and engage with, or we generate some kind of action. As data-viz practitioners, that's it. There's no more than these three, because you want to acknowledge that you exist and that you've done that work. You want them to engage with your work, or even more so, you want them to do something about it. But usually, when I see a lot of people presenting their work, I'm like, but who's connecting the people behind it? Who is helping people understand that you need stakeholders, but you also need people that are technicians, but you also need data-viz practitioners, but you also need people that understand how that goes in the field, and you also need citizens for it. So this framework is really a way for you and anyone that wants to kickstart your own project. You can use it, you can try it, and it really works. It really helps people understand the necessary steps to kickstart their data project. I have 25 of them printed, and I'm going to leave them there. First come, first serve. Sorry, that's it. And whoever wants to access the rest of them can do it at our website. It's odd.studio/method. If it's not online, let me know, because I asked for it yesterday. Someone may not have put it online yet, but I can send it to you via email anyway. Also, after 4 years working with multiple governments, multiple researchers in all kinds of fields, we have developed a guideline for scientists and researchers for communicating data. I am going to release it next week, so keep an eye out if you want to know more about it. And I believe that while we are all drowning in misinformation, I think that we're the people that have the knowledge and the resources to solve these complex problems, and we should be the ones leading the conversation. And as has been said here throughout the day, this means that sometimes a dashboard or a website is not the best solution for it, and we need to come up with other ways of doing it, whether it is an exhibition, whether it's through sound, or other ways of exploration. We're just getting started. But it is up to us to get that movement started, for sure. About me, I think I am now entering a different phase of my career and a different phase of these 10 years, because it's a lot of time, honestly. And I am doing content online, so if anyone is interested, I have been trying to explain data in a simple way for anyone that would hear it. It's both in English and in Portuguese on Instagram, and just in English on TikTok. And next month, I have a YouTube channel coming up. So, you know, do the drill. Subscribe, hit the button, comment, like this video, share it. And also, I am starting to work on some new personal projects. Odd has other projects that we're going to be talking about that are really cool. But I am working now on a project on wearable data. And some people on my team are working specifically on speculative design in data and AI. So if you're interested in collaborating or learning more about it, come talk to me. Muito obrigada.